So we're on the next episode of Blood Money. I have Steve Sanson over here from Veterans in Politics. Steve Sanson is a 12-year Army and Marine vet, and after finishing with the Army and Marines, he started his podcast, Veterans in Politics, which talks about topics having to do with corruption, having to do with what's happening in politics. He unearths a lot of interesting topics that you would normally not hear about, and definitely things that are not talked about in the mainstream media. Steve, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, Vim.
You're one of the most interesting people I've met because there's not many like you. Could you tell us a little brief bio about yourself and what you do?
All right. Well, so I grew up in New York City, and I joined the Marine Corps in '85, and I'm a Gulf War veteran of the first Gulf War. Came out of the Marine Corps in '91, joined the Army in '92, and I was on active reserves and inactive ready reserves. And I came out the Army in 1998. But prior to actually coming out of the Army, I came to Vegas in 1995. And what got me in politics is that Aaron Kenny, one of the Clark County commissioners, wanted to put a fire station at the end of my cul-de-sac. And it was an empty lot that was slated for homes, and according to the master plan, homes were supposed to be there, not the fire station. So, you know, when you buy your property and you look at the master plan and you look at these empty lots and it shows that homes are supposed to be there, you're like, okay, cool. So I'm going to buy my house, I'm going to invest. So a couple of years later, all of a sudden, I didn't want to put a fire station there. So I went to my county commissioner at the time, which was Aaron Kenny. I'm like, hey, the master plan says homes. Why are you putting a fire station there? Why don't you put it on the other side of the lot, which would have been Flamingo area? And that lot was a lot more pricier. So I guess that's why they wanted to put the fire station there. But anyways, the county commissioner lied to us, and we created an HOA to go after the county for putting that fire station there. We had over 100 members, and we paid for a lawyer. We sued the county. We didn't prevail in moving the fire station, but what happened was that different ordinance that they couldn't do. They couldn't put their lights and sirens on until they were a couple blocks away. So we had different restrictions on them. So that's what actually got me into politics in 1998 with Las Vegas, Nevada. And then after that, I decided to run for city council back in 2003, and it was a vacated seat that Michael Mack was leaving, and I ran against Steve Ross for city council, and I didn't prevail in the seat. But what happened was I was solicited by the president of Veterans in Politics to be their media spokesman in 2004. And then in 2005, I was elected president of Veterans in Politics. And since then, I created several chapters throughout the state. I created a chapter in Canada, so now we're Veterans in Politics International. And to stay in the thick of things, we decided to create a show. It was a video internet show back in 2005. We were on All Talk Radio, and we were on the internet, and we created a show about, seeing what veterans were all about, seeing the political climate, introducing candidates to the public. And we did that for quite a number of years. Up until today, we're still doing that. And now we're a video internet program. And the whole premise of the program is to educate the public on candidates running for elected seats, on court corruption, on police corruption. So we have a whole array of items that we cover. But the three branches of Veterans in Politics International is to first branch is to legislate for laws that are going to serve the community, expose political corruption, and to educate the public on candidates running for elected office. And since then, we've been doing it for many years. We know the political climate very well. We cover the whole state of Nevada. We have a chapter in northern Nevada as well as southern Nevada, and I primarily run the southern Nevada chapter. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
One of the favorite things that I like about what you do is you become a crime fighter. You become a watchdog on corruption. Could you tell us a little bit about some of the individuals that you've dealt with and the wrongdoings that they have done, and how you've dealt with that sort of thing?
Well, back in 2014-15, many veterans came to us and said that the family court was in disarray, that they were violating their own code of ethics. They're violating civil procedures. They're violating state and federal laws. And they were getting a raw deal in family court. It wasn't fair. It wasn't transparent. And we've put, Veterans in Politics put a lot of those judges on the bench in family court. So it was a little bit difficult to hear when litigants came to us and started to tell us that these judges were just corrupt. So what we did, we started to go in the judges' chambers and generalize and say, hey, judge, if you sign an order and the opposing party has not followed your order, you have to find them in contempt. You can't just sign an order and not enforce the order. So basically, those are the chatter for a couple of years, and then more litigants started to come to us and saying how family court was corrupt. So what we did, we started to go into the family court, and we started to court observe. And what happened while doing that, we knew all the judges. We show up with a shirt, they all recognize us, and it was everything was kosher. After each court hearing, litigants started to come to us and say, you know what, it was a big difference on how the judges respond to us. Their attitude changed. They did a whole 180. So that means they were acting differently when Veterans in Politics were in the courtroom. So they goes, you're not seeing exactly what these judges are doing when you're not here. So we started watching videos and start looking at motions. And then we created a YouTube channel called Veterans in Politics, which has all our podcasts and which has a lot of the court videos. So we started to realize that a lot of these judges were violating laws and federal, state, local laws. They were violating everything. Due process wasn't even in a family courtroom. In fact, they don't even have a jury box. Go figure. So there was one particular judge. Her name is Rena Hughes. And this judge was scolding an 11-year-old child and telling the child that she was going to go to child haven. It's like jail. I mean, really intimidating this kid, really battering her, while dad and his attorney were sitting in there watching this whole thing unfold. And the judge kicked the mom out of the courthouse. Now, she kicked the mom out of the courthouse, not even the courtroom, the actual courthouse. She kicked her out into the parking lot. So mom was representing herself. So now the judge is conducting ex parte communication with dad and his attorney while mom is her own attorney, and she kicked mom out the whole courthouse. Took the child, alienated the child from mom. So when I watched this video, I was shocked. I couldn't believe Rena Hughes would do something like that. I was like, beside myself and watching this child cry. So I put it on our YouTube channel. When I put it on YouTube channel, I've had some death threats to take it down, which
Do you know where those death threats came from, or?
I have no idea.
You laugh. Tell me about why you laugh.
Because I'm the type of guy, you don't threaten somebody's life. If you're going to go take a life, you just go take it. You don't go and threaten it. You don't warn them. You just do it. Mm-hmm. That's how I was raised, So I laughed about it, and I started protesting the family court because I found a whole lot of other things going on. I started protesting the family court. But then back to Rena Hughes. So we filed a judicial disciplinary complaint against Rena Hughes, and I advised Mom to do the same, and Mom did. And the judicial discipline took strong action because the media got a hold of the video now. So now it was on channel 13, 8, 5, so the media got a hold of it and really, really broadened the horizons on viewers watching this little 11-year-old being battered by this big bad judge. So they judicial discipline took the whole case to Reno. I don't know why they did that because, the judge is here in Clark County, but took the whole case to Reno. So I flew Mom out to Reno, and I went out to Reno, and we asked for a we did a media request, and we filmed the whole judicial discipline complaint hearing. That lasted a whole day, and we put that on YouTube as well. Anyways, the judicial discipline found that the judge did violate the law, and asked and told the judge that she had to go back to judicial college. That means when she went the first time, she probably was sleeping. So now she got to go back on her own dime, by the way. It's about $5,000, I think. So anyways, Judge Hughes decided that she was going to appeal it. And, decided that she was going to appeal it and in front of the Supreme Court. Anyways, at the same time, there was an election going on for her retention to that bench. And she lost in the primary. Now Deidre Butler is the one sitting in that seat. Now, if Veterans in Politics didn't go after Rena Hughes will still be on the bench today. Mm-hmm. But because we did what we did, she's off the bench. So that's just a prime example of one of the individuals, judge, that we took off the bench. And there's no such thing as impossible. Things can happen if you use the law to benefit what you need to get done.
We connected on this topic because I went through something very similar where there was absolutely no due process, ex parte communications, and a lot of perjury and fraud into the court record. And I wish I had somebody like you and your organization watching over them. Now, why is it that only when there's somebody like you, who I consider a crime fighter, watching, that these judges behave?
Why is it?
Yes.
Well, I guess we care about the judicial process. The judicial process is huge. And the judicial process put a lot of innocent people behind bars. The judicial process destroys a lot of families. I'm not saying that the whole judicial process is bad. I'm just saying when you have bad judges making bad decisions against good people, then the judicial process needs a whole overall. The family court system is absolutely disgusting. Judges use their discretion. They bring their own bias to the bench. If you're going to use your discretion, then why need law? Why you have to follow law if you're going to use discretion? Because discretion is not following law. Why do we send people to Carson City, to legislators, assembly, and Senate, to legislate law and make law and amend law if you have judges in the courtroom that's going to, flip you the middle finger and use their own personal bias? And if judges are using their own personal bias, why do you have to be an attorney to run for judge? If you're going to bring good common sense and your own personal discretion to the bench and not look at law at all, I think anybody should be able to run for family court as long as you have a good head on your shoulder and you can make good judgment.
What other arenas have you worked in stopping corruption?
Well, Veterans in Politics champion. We did several items since me taking over in 2005. We also got the Veterans Treatment Court. We testified. We helped sponsor it. We helped write the bill on Veterans Treatment Court. And the Veterans Treatment Court is supposed to help veterans get treatment instead of incarceration. So we helped created that back in 2008, and it was signed into law by Governor Jim Gibbons. The Veterans Treatment Court helped a lot of veterans throughout the years ever since it was proposed and became law. So that's one of the things. The other thing we did was drivers on your driver's license. We put veterans on the driver's license. It's optional for veterans to put veterans on their driver's license for the state of Nevada. And the reason for that is to de-escalate any type of police hostility. If when a police pulls you over and gets your driver's license and he sees veterans on there, for one, he should say thank you for your service. The other, he might want to have a conversation to say, hey, where did you serve? Were you in combat? Just in case something goes, crazy, that officer would have a better understanding on who he's dealing with. So that's why we put veterans on the driver's license. In fact, that whole thing came out from the Stanley Gibson shooting. An unarmed veteran that was in the car. He was suffering from PTSD. He was unarmed, but yet he got gunned down by a Las Vegas police officer who's no longer on the force, by the way. And that's another thanks to Veterans in Politics for doing that. We took that police officer off the force.
Why is it important? Tell us why it's important to have veterans court, like a specialty court for veterans.
You know what? Let me tell you how I summed it up to the district attorney when he was on our podcast. When I compare the veterans to a law enforcement officer, although their jobs are different, one is search and destroy, dependent. The other one is protect and serve. So when a law enforcement officer draws his weapon and fires his or her weapon, that law enforcement officer is immediately pulled off the street, okay, paid administrative leave, especially if they shoot a perp. So he's pulled off the street, paid administrative leave, okay? And then he goes through psychiatric evaluation. That means he talks to a counselor, and the counselor, after several hours of talking to the counselor would say, okay, he's fit to go back or she's fit to go back on the street, or they're not, they need more counseling. But when a veteran is in combat, veteran shoots his weapon, her weapon, fires it, blows up, IED, grenades, seen people die, seen people blow up, have to take lives themselves. They do it every single day. There's no pulling them off the combat zone. There's no going to a counselor to see if they're fit to go back. There is none of that. They're in the fight every single day, every single night. Sometimes one tour, 7 months, 12 months, sometimes 2 tours, another 7 to 12 months, sometimes 3 tours. I have guys that did 7 tours. And you think that you're going to bring a veteran after combat, bring him back to civilian society, send him on his way, and he's supposed to be good as golden? He's supposed to blend in with everybody else? Absolutely not. There is no transition course out of the military into civilian world. I mean, the military takes a civilian and then they break them down and they make them into a military person, okay? But there's no opposite direction. There's no, okay, you're military, now we're going to transition you down to become a civilian. So you're going to do an everyday 9 to 5, you're going to kiss your wife, everything is going to be cool, walk your dog, whatever. It is a whole different world, and if you're not in it, you won't understand it.
Wow. That's a really clever way of putting it. So do you find a lot of veterans, when they come out of the service, they have issues reintegrating with society?
Absolutely, I did. I thought, when I came out the Marine Corps, I thought civilians were entitled bunch of assholes, to be honest with you, that don't know the meaning of the American flag. They tell me, hey, we pay for you guys to go out there and defend our constitutional right, to give us the right to come home, back here at home, to burn the flag. And that's crazy, especially when veterans see how many of their brothers and sisters that died for the flag, and you're going to come home into your own country. It's bad enough you go to other countries abroad and watch other countries burn the American flag. But what's disgusting and degrading is when you come to your own country and you got Americans that are burning the flag. That is total disrespect. They need to be shot.
I'm sure it's taken a lot of restraint for you to put up with the crap that's happening right now in our culture.
Absolutely. And it took me a while to deal with the civilian populace, because I didn't like them at all. I had to go into the Army to kind of, because I was going cold turkey when I left the Marine Corps, especially coming back from Desert Storm. I had to go in the Army to kind of go down a little bit. It's like somebody that was used to smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day, and now you're going to take away all their smokes. They're going to be having shakes. They're going to be going crazy. Their mood is going to swing and change and go up and down. They're going to be like a roller coaster ride with their emotions. So that's the same thing when you come out of the military, especially when you come out of the Marine Corps and you did combat, or if you were in the Army and did combat, or if you were in any branch of the military and did combat, and you come back and all of a sudden the military structure is taken away from you, and you're going to lose your mind. So I had to go into the Army just to get along with civilians. Because cold turkey wasn't working for me.
Wow. So, Steve, what are some of the topics right now in present day that concern you, and things that you would like to affect change towards, whether individually or whether through Veterans in Politics? Like, maybe name the top 5 things that concern you.
Well, if you want to have any type of for me, for respect for the family court system as a judicial body of our government, then we must afford litigants jury trials, relocation of children, and termination of parental rights. We need jury trials for relocation of children and termination of parental rights as a start.
Okay.
Or a three panel judge. One person making that decision is ridiculous. One person is affecting generations of lives for that family. One person. If you relocate children and you terminate parental rights, that's a civil death. One person should not be able to make that decision all by themselves. They need a jury or a 3-body judge to do that, I think. The second thing is judges. Judges have they're protected by judicial immunity. You can't recall a judge in the state of Nevada. Judges have no term limits. You have attorneys that don't want to run against judges because of repercussion, because they have cases in front of that judge and they don't want to lose their cases. You know, this is how these attorneys feed their families. And they have cases in other courtrooms that the judges might befriend. If you want to go after this judge and take this judge out in an election process, they might be friends with those other judges that you have case. So attorneys are a little bit intimidated, or a lot intimidated, to run against a sitting judge. So where does that leave you if you have a bad judge that's sitting on the bench? And these terms are 6 years each before you go up for another re-election. And everybody goes, well, you know, at the ballot box, you get rid of the judge, but you can't get rid of the judge if you have nobody to run against the judge. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, you can't get rid of the judge if there's nobody to run against the judge. So where does that leave you? So we came up with this thing called remove or retain. So the way it works is that if remove gets more votes than retain, if an incumbent judge makes it to the general election and remove gets more votes than retain, the seat is vacated. The Nevada Judicial Selection Committee comes in, takes applications, sends 3 names to the governor. The governor picks one of the 3 names, fill the vacancy, and then that person runs for retention the following election year. This is the process that we have in mind to get rid of bad judges off the bench, because the Judicial Discipline Commission sucks. They're not doing their job. The state bar, getting rid of attorneys, they suck. The state bar is in cahoots with these attorneys. They suck.
Yeah.
So we need to revamp the Judicial Discipline Commission, and we also need to revamp the state bar of Nevada.
How often judges' terms are how many years?
6.
6
for
years.
district court and family.
So this concept basically is when they're up for re-election is when you're able to basically take them out?
Right.
Okay. Question here: our entire system is based on checks and balances, and how does something like family court that has no checks and balances even exist?
Because we allow it to happen. We allow it to happen, and when we allow it to happen, the bad behavior become normalized. And what happens is these judges are sealing cases with these attorneys. So when they're sealing cases, which they're not supposed to seal the entire case, but they're doing it anyway, and we're allowing them to get away with it. I mean, the state law says you cannot, the Nevada Revised Statute says you cannot seal an entire case. But we are allowing them to do it, and they're getting over with it. And the thing is, we create these laws, and these judges are not even following the laws, but yet they expect you to follow their orders. Imagine how that works.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very authoritarian approach.
Hypocritical.
Yeah. And honestly, it sounds like some stuff that was going on 300 years ago in England when they were oppressing us, and it's odd that this sort of behavior exists. Let me ask you, what makes you personally so passionate about this topic of judicial misconduct, especially in terms of the family court?
Well, I had a family court case in California that lasted 9 years.
Wow.
And I did eventually have custody. I was dealing with California, and I'm living in Nevada. So, from different states, the jurisdiction was a lot different. That's why it took so long. But I finally ended up having all my kids, and it was a roller coaster ride for a time. And I learned, and I lived with it. But in the state of Nevada, I have no family court issue. Matter of fact, a lot of these judges were friends of mine or acquaintance, and I didn't have any problems with them. But I cannot sit idly by and watch people that we elect, that we endorsed, just violate the law without having any kind of repercussion. And if you allow bad citizenry to get away with bad judgments, bad decisions, and knowingly doing wrong, and we elected them in office, what does that say about us? We put them there, right? So I'm trying to change that.
What makes you so passionate about this? Because obviously doing the work that you do with veterans in politics, you're constantly calling out corrupt individuals. You're going after powerful individuals that are well connected. Obviously that puts you at risk. You've gotten death threats before, as you were saying. I mean, why are you so passionate about doing the kind of work that you do?
They say when you enter a place, you're supposed to make it better than how it was when you're supposed to make it better when you leave than when you found it. So that's basically what we're trying to do. I mean, we have to think about the future generation, and we have to think about, how is this going to affect you? What makes me more passionate? I think part of it is that I take a lot of my anger and a lot of the upsetness that happened in my life, and I just put it into politics instead of putting it into something that's gonna get me locked up and go behind bars. So I just curve it, and I just put it into, and it takes somebody disciplined to do that, because not everybody could do that. Not everybody could take their anger and their ill judgments from life and turn it and put it into something that's positive and direct it that way. It takes a different mindset to do that. So instead of me ended up behind bars, I am putting it in politics and help litigants get their children, help litigants have a fair and equal justice. Because I don't think justice is supposed to be blind, okay? Justice is not supposed to be, okay, this person has more money than that person. This person has a better lawyer than that person. Justice is supposed to be blind. Justice is supposed to be fair, and justice is supposed to be transparent. I mean, you should be able to see these things out and open, not something that's closed behind doors that you can't see. And that's the problem that we're having here. Justice is not blind. Justice is about who you know, what you know, that friends is good friends of mine, that friends, and it's a whole big organized conspiracy. That's what I see in the family court. It's not, especially this one, contempt proceedings. A family court judge is a civil judge, and not a criminal judge. A criminal judge has contempt proceedings that they can lock you up behind bars because you violated a court order or what have you. A family court judge is not supposed to do that. And even if you're going into a contempt proceeding, according to our 14th Amendment, you have a right to a fair judiciary. That means you could be represented by counsel. But it doesn't go the same in family court. You show up, you're not represented by anybody, and these family court judges are locking you up for contempt. But they don't have jurisdiction to do that. But they're doing it anyway. But a criminal judge has jurisdiction to lock you up for contempt because that's in their preview. But a family court judge does not. In a criminal proceeding, you have a right to a jury. You do have a right to a jury, and you do have a right to legal counsel if you can't afford one. In family court, there is no jury, and there is no legal counsel. So where is your right? Why does your constitutional right stop at the doorstep of a family courthouse? It's unbelievable. So the judges go, well, that's civil contempt, and this is criminal contempt. There's a difference between civil contempt and criminal contempt. Tell that to a jail cell. When you're locked up behind bars, you think a jail cell knows what's the difference? But, he's only here for a civil contempt. We're just going to treat him extra nice.
Yeah.
That is such crap. Yeah. Your 14th Amendment right is violated, and that's that.
Yeah.
That's that. It's violated. So I don't know the difference between civil and criminal contempt. The only thing I know is that my freedom was taken away from me. Mm-hmm. That's what I know.
Without a jury,
and without an attorney, my freedom was taken away from me. What country do we live in? Is family court a different country now?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, does it, as a veteran that went and risked your life, and I'm sure thousands of other veterans. I mean, does it frustrate you how screwy things have gotten in this country?
Let me tell you what frustrates me. When you have attorneys that never even served in the military, you have attorneys that are taken or want to take away a veteran's service-connected disability benefits for the sole purpose of alimony. I think that is fucked up. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. That is fucked up. You hear me, Marshall Willick? You're a piece of shit.
Wow, that's a judge you mentioned?
That's an attorney.
That's an attorney. Wow. What are the projects you're currently working on in terms of calling attention to this, in terms of removing other corrupt individuals? What are the things that you're most passionate about today?
Well, exposure.
Mm-hmm.
Exposure is your biggest weapon, okay? And that's why we've been doing these podcasts for years.
And that's probably why the family courts try to gag us with these ridiculous gag orders. And different fashions. They try to shut you down. Well, what they try to do is discredit and isolate you. I had two pieces of shit family attorneys, Marshall Willick and Jennifer Abrams, want to sue me for defamation. And these are the two individuals of the biggest defamatory people of them all in the family court mm-hmm. business. But yet they want, of course they should know what defamation is because they do it all the time on a regular basis. So might as well be the pot calling the kettle black and toss it on somebody else's lap and project your bullshit onto them. And that's exactly what these two attorneys did. So they sued me for defamation. And I won the lawsuits. Wow, amazing.
And the thing is, folks, you gotta keep on, you gotta keep pressing.
Yeah.
You gotta surround yourself with good people, and you just gotta keep the fight up. Because if you let these people take an inch, they'll take a mile.
I've heard of Jennifer Abrams, actually. Some of the family court litigants I've talked about have said a few things. Allegedly, I say allegedly because I haven't seen it myself, but apparently there's been individuals that are involved in the family court process that have been defamed, that have been called abusers, their court records released online. Is that the sort of thing you've also heard?
Yep. They created this Facebook page. I don't even want to give it any credit, but it's a piece of shit Facebook page that goes after litigants and puts their private matters out there. So that's what they do, and these people haven't even called out a judge yet, and yet they're supposed to be court watchers. They haven't called out a judge. I guess all the judges are doing wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it sounds, what it sounded like to me was a tool of them essentially kissing up perhaps to the bad judges in order for things to swing their way.
Exactly. You know, the law firms want to win cases, so they suck a little for the bad judges, so they could get their cases winnable. And it's all about the almighty dollar. It's all about the money. Has nothing to do with compassion and empathy, right and wrong. It has everything to do with how much could I get in my pocketbook.
Yeah. I mean, for those that don't know, I'm just going to throw a little footnote here. You know, this is a $60 billion industry. And for those of us that understand what's going on in family law, it's all about protracting the lawsuits, protracting the court process in order to, just drain you. Right. And to that effect, Steve, what do you think the future holds in terms of what's happening in the judicial circles and family law? Well,
one of the other things I like to see with family court is that when they schedule you to go see a counselor, that individual could use their own insurance and pay copay, whatever their copay or whatever their deductible might be. I mean, that's why we all have insurance. Not to have these court-appointed counselors and psychiatrists and pay $10,000, $15,000 for it. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous because they're taking money away from these litigants that they could put into their children's educational program. Instead, they're putting it into lawyers' pockets and all these court-appointed entities' pockets, and keep up the caseload of the courthouse so they could hire more judges and more JEAs and more marshals. It's all a big circle of how we could obtain more money and more power. That's what it's all about.
And again, for those that don't know, I mean, there's therapists involved in this scam. It's like a whole industry of corruption. Would you say that's accurate?
That's accurate.
Yeah, and everybody's making money. They say, oh, you might be a completely normal person, never having committed a crime. All of a sudden, you got to pay $10,000 for a psychiatrist to tell you what your mental state is like. That psychiatrist is really working for the courts in order to make more money, and it's just kind of, they keep you in this what is it called, like war of attrition until you're down to your last penny. So, Steve,
there was one more thing.
Sure.
Family court judges don't follow rule of evidence.
Yes.
If mom or dad goes in there and said, let's say mom goes in there and said dad is an alcoholic, he drives drunk all the time, then the judge puts these things on dad's vehicle without any type of evidence, no arrest, no affidavit from the neighbor, no nothing, just based on hearsay alone. And all these attorneys that deliberately lie in court, they should be brought up on perjury, they should be sanctioned, and they should be jailed.
Do you think any of this is going to change in the near future?
I think so. I think if we keep pushing on, I think that if we bring up the numbers, more people take interest in this, the more exposure it gets, I think people would catch on, and I think things will change.
We're patriots. Does this strike you as, destroying families, destroying children, traumatizing parents and children? Isn't this the most unpatriotic, treason's a strong word, but you are really causing harm to the core of this nation?
Well, when you give Child Protective Services caseworker an incentive to take children away from families, I think we have a problem here.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Steve, in closing, is there anything you would like to say?
Yes, I would like to say that why wait till these things come knocking on your door before you take interest? Why wait? I have no dog in this fight in family court. Not one. I don't even have a little chihuahua. I have no dog in this fight in family court. I'm taking this on, and my kids are grown, except for my little 13-year-old. And she's not going to go anywhere in family court. You best believe that. But I have no dog in this fight, and I'm taking on this family court thing. And I think the reason is because people can't throw, well, he's just mad at that judge because that judge took his kid, or he's biased because he's got this big, long thing in family court. He's biased. That's why he's taking. No, I have no fight. I have no personal fight in family court. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. And another thing I want to emphasize is this vexatious litigant crap. What the heck is that? You got these litigants that can't even afford their own counsel. In fact, some of them can't even afford to put gas in their car to get to the family court. But they're there and they're filing all these motions and stuff. Granted, they're not lawyers because we don't have a self-help that really walks them through the process. Okay? Not until my book comes out. But they're filing it because they want their child. They're doing it because the love of their child. Their child is their DNA. That's their blood. They want their kid. They want to be part of their kid's life. They're filing all these documents. And then you, judges, deem them a vexatious litigant. Tie their hands. Take away their 14th Amendment right. Now they can't defend themselves. They can't argue their case. They have no right to get their own documents so they could defend themselves. Their documents are redacted. They can't even see what's on there, and they can't file an emotion, any briefs or motions or anything like that. And then you deem them vexatious, so they can't do a doggone thing. But my question is, why aren't you doing the same thing for all these attorneys that file hundreds and hundreds of pages and all this crap, and they throw at litigants to financially cripple them so they can't come back and fight anymore? How come you don't deem the attorneys as vexatious litigant or vexatious attorneys? And they're not doing it for the love of their child. They're doing it for the almighty dollar. Big difference, but yet they're not deemed vexatious. And they file way more crap, especially that Marshall Willett guy. He files crap, throws all his shit against the wall to see what stick, to see what these judges will bite off on, because some of these judges over there are so damn stupid. That's why.
Well, yeah, and for people that are, there's been a lot of things that have happened in the last few years. Our rights to our children seems to be threatened through the schools. They're getting masked. We're being told that our opinions and thoughts are domestic terrorism. We looked at an election that a lot of people think that there was fraud involved, and a lot of this authoritarian behavior. And what the point I want to make here is for people wondering why all this stuff's happened, when you look at the family court and you see how they've been able to get away with crime after crime and deprivation of rights, once they do that, once they're able to steal their children for profit, what do you think comes next? This is why, just like you were saying, Steve, people have to get involved, even if they don't have children. What's the corruption in family law courts is just an offshoot of everything else that's happening in society.
Exactly, because you know what? These things are all domino effects. If it doesn't catch up with you now, it'll catch up with you later, okay? Because we really need to pay attention to every elected individual, especially the ones that's on our bench or judicial bench, because these people affect your lives immediately. A president might take a few years before it affects you, but these judges affects your life immediately. And I'm surprised more and more people don't take an interest in the judiciary, especially in family court. And it doesn't even have to affect you personally, because it could affect your neighbor, your parents, it could affect your grandkids, could affect your future kids that you don't even have. But either way, it will catch up to you sooner or later. The thing is, what are you going to do about it now? You have to do something about it now. That way it doesn't, you have to stop the bleeding. You can't just put a Band-Aid on there and hope it will stop. You need to have some stitches and stop the bleeding.
Well, Steve, thank you so much. You're one of the individuals I admire greatly because if there was a Steve Sanson in every state, we would not be in the mess we're in today.
Oh boy.
Yep.
Boy, if I had one of me in every single state. Ooh-wee.
Yeah.
Imagine what I could do.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Vem. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking an interest in the veterans and politics and what we do. And we hope that this will educate folks to start standing up for their rights and to exercise every one of their constitutional rights. There's a lot of constitutional rights, folks, and I'm telling you, you guys need to go and read your Constitution and know your rights. Know your rights, because there's a lot of countries wish they had our Constitution. And in our own country here, we got individuals that are trying to destroy that Constitution because they don't want us to have rights. They want to be a dictatorship. And that's sad. And we need to fight for our rights. We've been doing it for over 200 years, and we should never, ever stop.
Thank you so much, Steve. I really appreciate coming down to get interviewed with us at Blood Money.
Thank you, Vem.